Boys, girls, in-betweeners, we are back with Mortal Kombat 11, and this guy probably should have been skewered better.
Agreed, now he's got a windmill weapon.
Not only have we not skewered him, we've also weaponized him.
I just imagine him him spinning it around really fast and then flying off.
If there's one thing that I can say I approve of, it's that NetherRealm has gotten pretty creative with the way they employ blood and gore in their cutscenes and in the fatalities and stuff. I was never a big fan of old school Mortal Kombat because, it's just death and blood, and the gameplay mechanics attached to it were stiffer. Well, they've improved the gameplay, but they've also made the gory elements more interesting and creative, which counteracts a lot of the I don't really find this appealing problem of me with blood and gore. So
back in the day I found the original Mortal Kombat to be stiff as hell.
Yeah, they were. A lot of that had to do with they were using that impressive at the time but really goddamn archaic method of photographing actors onto sprites. Which
neat idea at the time, not so much now.
Yeah.
Digitization!
The animations themselves were pretty stiff, so the gameplay followed suit. Or maybe there was a psychological aspect that made it feel stiffer than it actually was. I'm not sure.
Well, that was just a weird time for Mortal Kombat because it was so popular because of all the crap it was known for back then, but none of that really holds up today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I mean, again, dating myself, but, I was there for, the whole, arguments of, Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat, which one's better? Speaking of battles, we got, Street Fighter was better, yes, that's true. We all know this, so that's not even a competition. This is a man-nipple battle right here. I mean, there's two very impressive sets going on.
Which one's voiced by Jay Leno?
I don't know.
Now, we don't get to see two different Raidens interacting with each other because apparently he's a demigod or something, and he's affected by time differently. So his future self just gets erased the moment his past self gets dragged forward.
Oh, they can't have a yada 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 battle.
Yeah, they
So you do get some interesting development for Raiden, who hasn't been affected by his failures yet, but knows they're going to happen, and knows, more importantly, about his reaction to them. So he's like, no, that can't be me, can it?
You're not me.
But he's also in a position where he can change that, so, we'll see how it turns out. As of this moment, I've only played up to about the part where Kano dies, so I'll play the rest before we commentate over it, but I'm not sure where the story's going after that.
Also, I find it kind of funny, I haven't played through all of Mortal Kombat 10 story so far, but every scene I've ever seen, Kotal Kahn he's getting his ass beat.
I like how, in the cutscenes where gore is generally treated a bit more realistically, Shao Kahn gets his fucking shoulder blade sliced through and is still wielding that hammer like a boss. I mean, jeez. He must have frickin' Weapon X healing powers. Ooh. Kotal must have them.
I meant to do Shao
There,
Kahn.
trick crowd.
Shao Kahn is just I meant to do that.
Yeah. It's good to see Boy Scout Liu Kang back again. That's always good. Liu Kang was effectively the protagonist of the early games, so it's interesting what they've done with him in the modern games, where he sort of has to get beat down by Raiden in Mortal Kombat 9. But
yeah, I remember it being a big deal. I think it was in Mortal Kombat 6 or 7 or something, where it's Liu Kang is dead, and he's died now, I don't know how many times since then, but yeah.
Which is funny because back at the original games, at least as far as I can remember, mind you, I was young at the time. Nobody cared about Liu Kang. They were like, yeah, you're playing a Scorpion or Sub-Zero.
Yeah, exactly. They're the Ryuken of the game, not Liu Kang.
Well, it's a different issue when you're talking about which characters people care about playing, which is in a lot of fighting games, people don't really care that much about the protagonist. I mean, Dead or Alive, Kasumi's the protagonist, but does anyone care that she is the protagonist? I don't think so. In Street Fighter, Ryu's recognizable, but he doesn't have much story significance for all the protagonist that he is. And in Tekken, I don't remember the last time I've met anyone who plays any of the Mishimas online. So
Jin was popular for a while, I think, in 6.
In 6? Yeah, I can see it.
If I remember correctly.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, but he was the villain in 6. Funny.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's just the edgelord.
Tekken.
Just a reminder, the last Tekken I played, like, really in depth was 5.
Tekken does this weird thing where its protagonists have a habit of becoming the antagonist of the following game. But in Mortal Kombat, we switch up protagonists a fair bit, I think. Like, in Mortal Kombat 9, the protagonist is essentially Raiden. In Mortal Kombat 10, it's Cassie Cage. And in this one, I think... Well, who is the protagonist in this one? I don't think there's really a protagonist focus.
They're definitely not to the point where I play it to, at least. It really just does move around a lot. It does focus a lot on Sonya and Cassie, I think, but that's kind of as close as it really gets.
Yeah, but I also don't think they're the ones who wind up being... who wind up having to deal the final blow. I think it's Liu Kang, actually. And Liu Kang doesn't get a whole lot of focus in the early game either. His chapter is split with Kung Lao, I think.
Yeah.
So
I do take the Liu Kang route on that chapter as well. I try to stick to one character when it gives us the choice of which protag we want to use.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Even if the past self doesn't like the future self, it doesn't seem that the past self's decision to hate their future self has any effect on the future self, but injury and death does. So, if the past self dies or takes an injury, that's immediately reflected on the future self, either by them not existing or them having a visual injury.
Okay, have you ever seen a movie with time travel that has coherent rules for time travel? Ever.
Besides Back to the Future?
No, that's not even like really that coherent either. Because if especially Back to the Future 3, there's some stuff there about where they look at the gravestones and whatnot that really mess it up.
I haven't seen many movies that do time travel much, but that's mostly because if you're going to have coherent rules of time travel, things tend to get complicated, and it's easier to deal with that kind of convolution in the form of a novel or something, or maybe a television show, something with room to breathe. In other words. Time travel can be really interesting if it is handled with that kind of depth. Oh, jeez. I forgot about Scarlet and her stupid blood magic. Is she new?
No, she was in 9.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like Scarlet. She's not a character I want to play as, but I like her as a character in terms of playing against her and in the story mode.
Scarlet was... Yeah, she was one of the focal points for the whole, SCW outrage about costumes and whatnot, because when she was first introduced in 9, her outfit in 9 is very, very skimpy, whereas in this one she's basically covered from head to toe.
I wish people wouldn't talk about 9 like it was the default for Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was never really a cheesecake series, it's more of a violence series. So 9...
It is, yeah. But 9 was kind of like the soft reboot for the series.
Yeah, I know. It's just that 9 leaned heavily into the cheesecake stuff, and it's like, yeah, we're doing that? Okay. And then the other games didn't want to do that anymore, and it's people like, oh, the stupid SJW is ruining video games. Maybe they just didn't like that direction and wanted to go back on it. Okay? I mean, seriously? I mean, look at this right now on screen. Are you seriously going to call this politically correct? We just had a spear shoved through Kotal Khan's fucking throat. Okay? To say nothing of the lead-in, of the sheer slaughter that led into that final moment.
But then he just finished the match by playing high jump kick game.
Oh yeah.
I did, yes. That is a constant of the Mortal Kombat series. If you ever want to beat the AI in Mortal Kombat, just do jumping kick over and over and over again.
High jump kick followed by low kick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you're feeling really classic, get in an uppercut.
if you're feeling saucy.
Depending if you're facing original Shao Kahn or not.
Yeah, I will say I did play through the arcade mode in Mortal Kombat 9, and Shao Kahn at the end of that is hard as balls, and it does not work on him.
It's like they knew.
Well, there's actually a term for that. It's called SNK boss syndrome, because the SNK games classically have incredibly hard final bosses.
You mean they cheat?
They input read and just block your every move and counter everything you do. Yes.
Aaron Black. I'm totally ambivalent toward this character. I don't know why, but like.
Well,
Cowboy hat.
it's interesting to me. It's interesting to me because I'm an Australian, so I don't have any historical connection to the cowboy mythos, but obviously Americans do. So I don't like. I know that Americans are way more into cowboys than Australians are. So I don't know how you feel about that.
It's more like he's like every cowboy bounty hunter rolled into one. And that's a lot of cowboy bounty hunters because there have been a lot of cowboy bounty hunters in pop culture.
And everyone's just been trying to rip off Clint Eastwood since the 70s.
Yeah. You know, I really shouldn't be cynical toward Aaron Black specifically because people have been doing the same thing with the Bruce Lee XP, and Liu Kang has been a Bruce Lee XP since the first. Every fighting game has to have a Bruce Lee somewhere in it.
Yeah, everyone really does.
Or you could be like Dead or Alive 5, which has its own Bruce Lee XP, but then it's also crossovering with Virtua Fighter, and Virtua Fighter's Bruce Lee XP is also in the game. So there's two.
Yeah, there's that. Everyone needs the karate Ryu type as well. So there's the Ryu archetype.
I like how Kotal Khan is totally outmatched whenever he's fighting Shao Kahn.
That's what I'm saying. Like every scene I see him, he's getting his ass beat. I've never seen like a story cutscene where he's actually like beating someone up.
Yeah, Kotal Khan kind of gets the short end of the stick in this story mode. I mean, even his girlfriend beats him up in her chapter.
She just completely emasculates him. It's fine.
It was kind of a bad time to have a physical disagreement with Kotal Khan about his policy because it ends up getting them both captured. But
oh god, yeah, it is beautiful. I'll talk more about that when it comes up. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, the characters in this game don't exactly make the best decisions. Like Jade is like, give me some of your best soldiers. I'll infiltrate the camp and look for Shao Kahn. And then she gets caught right away. Not even by anyone clever. She just accidentally walks into someone. It's
yeah.
Ooh. Manufactured fights.
Yeah, and Liu Kang and Kung Lao like put on disguises and immediately get recognized when they do.
What do they do? Put on like fake mustaches?
No, they do the Star Wars thing and they go, "We'll dress up as guards and capture a prisoner and bring him in."
Aren't you a little short for an Outworld messenger?
Exactly. It literally lasts for 5 seconds and they go, "No, you're totally Liu Kang. It's not working at all."
Ooh. Now you see, I remember like in a cutscene, Shao Kahn pulls that kind of wrestling move, breaks your spine over my shoulders kind of move. I forgot that was an actual move he could pull in game. Although
I tried to learn exactly 2 combos on the fly as fast as I could for each character and just spam those over and over again.
I'm guessing Shao Kahn doesn't really have the hammer in previous games, though. 'Cause I don't remember seeing that.
No, in the original he was hand to hand like most characters in like the first couple of games.
Yeah.
Did he have?
I don't think they brought weapons into Mortal Kombat to like. Yeah, he did 9. I think they brought in weapons around like 3 or 4 kind of territory. Like characters started using weapons. Back when it became like the gimmick of like how much can we add to these games? We'll have animalities, we'll have babalities, we'll have weapons, we'll have friendships, we'll have everything.
It's
quick through the convenient portal.
It's kind of fun to see Shao Kahn running away because it's like he's.
I love how Devora just stops to hiss. She's like, "Yeah, fuck you guys, I'm out."
Devora's cool. I like Devora.
Yeah, she's a good character actually. I do like her design as well.
She's also like one of the people who does the creepiest death scenes. You see her give like an insect swarm kiss to Melina in the previous game, which the bugs eat her from the inside out, and then she almost does the same to Kotal Khan in this one. It's like, oh, how far is this going to go? Are they really going to kill Kotal Khan? She doesn't.
Nah.
Yeah. And she has a fatality where she actually does like lay an egg in your chest and it explodes outwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you were saying this before, like the lengths of creativity that they go to with blood and gore. Even if you don't like the blood and gore, you have to appreciate how much thought has gone into this.
Yeah.
Well, we're on our 11th game. We have to do something different.
Yeah, but it's just it's also just a practical choice because nowadays there are plenty of games that do blood and gore. It's not as novel a concept in a video game by itself as it was back in the day when Mortal Kombat was new. So if you're going to still have that as a selling point for the fun factor of your game, I suppose, you need to do something fun with it. So,
And Kitana is actually Asian in this game.
Hey, how about that?
yeah, her name sounds Asian, so she probably should be. She's an Outworlder, so does Outworld have an Asia?
Where is Outworld Asia?
It's Auja there, not Asia. Auja. Totally different.